So what we want to do now is begin the kind of our dig into our pre-Labor Day options A and B and our post-Labor Day options A and B. And so what we did for you, you'll see, is we created a kind of like a four-column list where we have our major events, but also we include our holidays and teacher work days and the like. So on our first summary sheet that we're going to look at, you'll be able to do a cross-reference with each of the four calendar options and look at those major events, including the last and first day of schools, our graduation dates, student days, holidays, and breaks, also our teacher work days and our professional development days. We also thought it was important to include the Mason Move days as a major event because we know that that's a heavy lift and it's been much talked about over the past number of months. So we'll take a deeper look at each of the calendars, kind of the calendars on paper in just a moment. But before we did that, we wanted to kind of walk you through. So when we look at our major events, again, if you go down that major event columns, we're looking at our first day of school, the Mason Move days. We have 2 days for the Mason Move and our last day of school and our graduation. And so you can see the dates that we have outlined for each of the calendar options. Both pre-Labor Day A and B have a Monday, August 24th start date. And so if I continue to focus on those two calendars, the Mason Move Day for pre-Labor Day option A would be December 22nd, which is a Tuesday, and for pre-Labor Day option B, it would be December 18th. The second Mason Move Day would be Monday, January 4th, and it would be the same on the pre-Labor Day option B as well. The last day of school for option A, pre-Labor Day, would be June 8th, but it would then be June 10th, which is a Thursday for option B. And then the graduation day would be the same for both pre-Labor Day option A and pre-Labor Day option B.
If I can interject, I think one of the things many people may be asking is you came up with two pre-Labor Day options and you picked the same start date for both. Why did you do that, right? And when we started our work at our very first meeting, exactly, having people use those giant calendars and we gave everyone the Post-it notes and they were using them to stick them, one of the things that they quickly figured out in trying to get the calendar completed is that if we only started on August 31st instead of August 24th, that they weren't able to get a calendar that worked and still meet the June 15th date. So it was really that trade-off of if we start earlier, are we going to be able to end earlier? So as a group, the calendar committee decided that in order to get the items that they wanted, those trade-offs that Dr. Noonan mentioned in that calendar, they decided that both of the pre-Labor Day options needed to be the 24th.
Okay, so if we look at post-Labor Day option A and post-Labor Day option B, we can see that the start date would be on September 8th for both. Mason Move Day, number 1, for option A would be December 23rd versus option B, which would be December 18th. And then both have January 4th as the second move day. The last day of school for option A, post-Labor Day, is Tuesday, June 22nd, and option B is June 23rd. And then they would both have the same graduation day, which is June 16th. Okay, so this comparison gives us all of our holidays, which includes not just the holidays, but also our breaks and our work days. So if we look at pre-Labor Day option A and pre-Labor Day option B, they both include a 4-day weekend, which would be that Friday and Monday. And then we have Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, which is 10/12/20, we both of those options have a professional development day for staff. The Monday before Election Day, which is the 2nd of November, and Election Day, which is the 3rd, would both be teacher work days. And then going down the list, Veterans Day, and then the Friday following Veterans Day would both be school days.
Same question I'm gonna ask.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You beat it.
No, no. Let's go on the count of three. One. So Lawrence wanted me to ask, what's the difference between a school day and a teacher work day?
So a school day would be a day that students are in school. And then a teacher work day would be a day where students are not in school, but teachers are contracted to be in school, so they would report to school.
And how's that different from a professional development?
If we could go a little out of order, I'll jump in. Does that work for everybody? Okay.
Is that your question?
That was not my question.
Oh.
Lawrence's question was, is there an option of going on Veterans Day, not going on Veterans Day, and going on Indigenous Peoples' Day and Columbus Day? And
That plays a
I
role
think
in
that
it.
may
That
be.
is my question, that one, or
And what's
that
the
Friday,
Yeah,
that the
Friday
random, the
and,
random
yeah.
Friday as well within, November.
Okay, so I'll try to cover all of those as I quickly go through this, and then we'll jump back to William.
No,
So
that's
I know
fine.
it's
That's
just
good.
taking over. So all of your questions are really great. That summary calendar compares all 4 of the calendar options that were prepared, and they're the next slides that follow. So in each calendar case, you can see what the name of the calendar is in the top left. And we've included in the bottom right a legend of what all of those things are on the calendar, and it's crazy small on the screen, so I apologize. But I'll walk through it, and hopefully that'll help. Whenever you see an H, so if we look at Friday, July 3rd, for example, July, there's an H on the 3rd. That's the holiday that's celebrated. The actual federal holiday has a red shade. So you can see on July 4th, which is a Saturday, that's the red shade. Right? So that's how we reflect holidays. So when you move into for Labor Day, for example, in September, the Monday Labor Day is a red shaded day because it's a federal holiday with the H on it. And in every one of our school calendars that start pre-Labor Day, like this option, the Friday before is a holiday, so it's reflected as an H. So when we look at NT, those are the dates that new teachers return. New teachers get some additional training before we welcome back all of our other teachers, included, their issuance of their laptops, how to use some of our school systems. It's really a long onboarding process for our new teachers. The TW, or teacher work days, those are days that the teachers use for things like grading that they do, and also things that need to be done on the school level, right? So whether there's some specific items that they're covering as part of their school work, those occur in teacher work days. And the PD days on this calendar, you'll see 4.5 of them. Those are dedicated professional development days for teachers. And in that time, that professional development is system-wide, so every teacher within the system is getting that professional development. On this calendar draft, what you can see is an F, which indicates the first day of school. In this case, on this calendar draft option, it's Monday, August 24th. So as we walk through, you see the 2 holidays in September. You see in October on Columbus, or Indigenous Peoples' Day, on the 12th. That is a federal holiday, so it has that red shade behind it. But in this calendar option, it was recommended that that be used as a professional development day for staff. So we've overlaid that PD on top of that red shaded background. When we head into November and the conversations regarding Veterans Day, you can see in the month of November, we have the 2nd and the 3rd as both teacher work days. Those days are helpful because they're at the end of the quarter. We've traditionally used them for conferences, right? So it meets the need. You can see in very little type on the screen, and if Peter would point it out, the end of the first quarter is on Friday, October 30th. And right there is a teeny little EQ. EQ stands for end of quarter, right? So one of the calendar committee goals was to have a teacher work day following the end of the quarter. So that end of the quarter is Friday the 30th. The teacher work day is the 2nd, right? And historically, we've used that and Election Day when our buildings, we've not wanted to have school due to Election Day, as the 2 teacher work days, most commonly seen by parents as conferences. Veterans Day is in the middle of the next week. Veterans Day is one of those holidays that's always on the 11th, so the day of the week fluctuates. And then for Thanksgiving, one of the guiding principles was the 3 days. So again, the holiday on Wednesday, the federal holiday on Thursday, and the holiday Friday. Often one of the things that people look at in terms of November as compared to October is if you don't have some type of day off for students in October, that's that really long stretch from the 8th of September if you didn't have any day in October. And when you get to November, right, you also have to look at your periods of where you have breaks and where you have prolonged instruction. So that's just one of the Veterans Day components, certainly, and by no means the most important. As we continue to work through this calendar, the M indicates the Mason Move Day. That's a day that's not a school day for students at George Mason and Mary Ellen Henderson. Why would we not have students at Mary Ellen Henderson is a fabulous question that we often receive. We have a significant number of students at Mary Ellen Henderson that are taking a class at Mason. So if Mason is not there, the students won't have somewhere to go for their class. So that move day prior to the holiday break would be the day that teachers pack up. Then we'll have the moving company and all of us in there moving them and getting everything set up over that winter break. Then the day right after the New Year's holiday, that next M, is the day that teachers would reappear and unpack in order for students to come back in the brand new building on Tuesday, January 5th. Yes.
So can I interrupt with a question right there?
Uh-huh.
So then, on those 2 days, Mason and Henderson students are not in school.
Correct.
So does that mean that they get 178 days? Does that mean that the other students get 182? Or does that mean that there are 2 days that the Mason and Henderson students go to school and the other students don't?
It's a wonderful question. Our elementary students have 180 days. Our Mason and Henderson students in all these calendars have 178, right? Which is the exact same approach we took when we moved Mount Daniel, and students at Mount Daniel also had 2 fewer days due to that move.
So then do we get into the hours of instruction calculation then?
Correct.
Okay.
So the only people who should really be mad now are the people at TJ, right? Because they haven't gotten those 2 days off.
So just walking through this other calendar, I don't want to go through every calendar, but I really want to make sure that people understand the symbols that we put on the calendar. The other pieces on the calendar that you're going to see, if you look at Wednesday, March 10th, right, you see an ER code. That's an early release for all students. This calendar doesn't show our early release days. We traditionally have one every month for middle and high school students and one every Wednesday for elementary. But on that Wednesday, March 10th, that half of a day would be used for professional development. So that's an early release day that would be system-wide. So that's why that is coded there. You'll also see an ER on this calendar on June 2nd with a teeny little G in the top of that box. The G indicates that it's graduation day, and again, that's an early release for students across the system. So everyone is able to attend graduation if they wish. So I think those are the symbols that are included on this calendar. All of the major religious holidays are denoted with a diamond symbol. So you see that note about the religious holidays being in the bottom left corner of this calendar. We've also included under each month not only the religious holidays, but any of those federal holidays. And then in the middle on the bottom, we've indicated how many days are in each quarter.
Ms. Michael, will you read that comment at the bottom, the diamond comment? Because I think it's important because we'll be working with our staff also to make sure that they're aware of it.
Yes. It says major religious observances. These are regular school days unless otherwise indicated. Efforts will be made to avoid scheduling tests, activities, and major school events. So each of these calendars is here. They all are very similar. They have the exact same footnotes, the exact same letters, just the dates shift in each calendar. So the other thing to look at in each of these calendars, if I can just get 2 other kind of points of privilege. The committee was really thoughtful and really listened to everyone else's opinions, which was really great because this really was a complex thing for them to balance out. I think building a calendar seems really easy until you have to do the stickies and figure out it's really not. So all of our calendars, you notice they're ending midweek. So our students aren't ending their last day on Friday. In this example, pre-Labor Day option B, the last day of school is Thursday, June 10th, for example. But students don't go all the way to Friday. And in every